Your angels are speaking to you. Do you hear them? Welcome to The Calling of Light with author and empathic spiritual tarot reader Anne-Marie Odell. The Calling of Light offers direct, empathic insight and relatable spiritual topics, interviews with special spiritual guests, and straight talk call-in readings. Kick back and enjoy free-form spirit tea with Anne-Marie, the way you like it best when you want to simplify. Here is your host, Anne-Marie Odell.
Hi, I'm Anne-Marie, and you are listening to The Calling of Light. And today we have a guest who I felt was very intriguing.
Eliana means my higher power answered me, and Gilad, my last name, in Hebrew means eternal joy. So when you call my name, you are actually calling to yourself.
Has experienced 3 wars, is that correct?
Yep.
Including the Middle East, right?
Yeah, well, I lived through 3 wars, social unrest, and displacement in the Middle East for more than 20 years, 25 years. I know how to thrive through uncertainty and emerge triumph.
I would say so.
Right out.
You've coached thousands of women to be empowered and given 2 TED conferences. And you're going to help us conquer our shyness, become better speakers at our jobs, and find our true voice. And Eliana instructs as a voice coach also.
I would call myself a healing voice mentor. Yeah, you could call me a coach, but not in the regular sense. I help conscious change makers to connect to the source of their voice from the inside out, to the inner source of your voice, which is behind the sound and the silence, that part that might not make sense or that you might not have words for. And this ancient healing voice and feminine leadership way is a means that provides you with a bridge between that inner knowing and your outer expression.
And you believe that the body is a tool for helping this to happen, correct? To resonate your voice, your inner voice as well, correct?
Yeah, well, our body is an instrument. From my experience, we are not our bodies. We are instruments. We have bodies. And when we have right relationship with them, we can guide them, and they could be guided for lots and lots of good.
Which sounds a lot like what I do, because I always call that inner voice my guides, my angels. And when I give intuitive readings, I always shut off my analytical brain and just go into that inner voice. So I like the way that you put that. So starting out, Eliana, what is your true voice?
It's such a great question, Anne. What I would call your true voice, it's the part that's beyond your cognitive mind. The voices that are going on in your head, or the ones that pipe up when you actually dare to follow your inner guidance. And then, when push comes to shove, or at the 11th hour, when you go to speak your truth, what you plan and what comes out of your mouth is night and day, or you don't even speak up to begin with. That's not your true voice. That's conditioned. Those are habitual voices. Those are the voices of our ego. And our true voice, not that those are not voices, they absolutely are, but those are, in the cognitive field. And our true voice, what I'm referring to, is that which is beyond all of that, in another paradigm, your true essence, the source of your power. And it's the essence of all matter is vibratory. That's your true voice. And we're connected, we're instruments of that. But who we are is screen behind it, the screen upon which the movie is playing, or the silence from within the symphony plays, or the storm erupts, or there's dissonance and there's harmony there. We live in a world of duality.
So would you say, Eliana, that the true voice, which is our true essence, and basically our bodies, which are the vehicle for that essence, never counted on each person, or perhaps did count on each personal mom, dad, bad experience, and things that resonate as the other voices that are coming in of criticism, and things that we hear oftentimes louder? So the true voice would be that voice beneath all that. Why do we need to get in touch with our authentic voice?
Well, we don't. It's your choice. We don't need to do anything, but it's your choice. You're the director, and if you want to keep feeling like a victim of the world, and these days, boy, it's like a candy store of everything going awry, right?
It is.
If you want to, and those things trigger us, right, left, up and down and all around. Yet it's still a reaction in our physical world, and there's no end to it. Eye for eye, yin yang, black, white, for every action, there's a reaction. And that's the game until you want to get off of that. If you're really interested in your calm and in your centeredness and in your
higher self,
in your authenticity and showing up as you are and being who you are. I mean, how difficult is it for us to be who we already are? We already are that we're just so conditioned by everything, by the habits, by the habitual voices. Not that those are false voices, they're voices too, whatever you want. But when you dare to connect to find your true voice, there you take your power back. And you become in control of your voice instead of all of those voices being in control of you. Whether those are voices inside of your head or they're voices outside, all the divisiveness and wars and social unrest and pandemic, candy store of disruption.
Right.
It's either hell or it's the best opportunity you could ever have to reclaim your power.
I had to laugh when we first met because I think we were each being our true self, but we were kind of a little bit in our true klutziness. You were getting locked out of a house and I was misleading on the time. And we were both going, I don't know why this is happening. But I had to laugh because I find that the authentic people that I love most are the ones that can laugh at themselves. And I found that to be true with you. So find that maybe that's just my sense of authentic, is that I'm sure Deepak Chopra and all kinds of spiritual gurus are just as imperfect with their inner voice as us or as anybody. But I think that they're okay with that. And I think that sometimes so many spiritualists become so caught up into the lingo and the perfectness of being perfect. And perfectly perfect is just a very hard place to be sometimes and still be able to laugh.
It's so funny that you mentioned Deepak Chopra because I have a Deepak Chopra story that's connected to this. You want to hear it?
I want to.
Okay, so I lived in Israel for 20 plus years, and through those 3 wars and really learned to thrive through uncertainty. And I was invited to present at the Chopra Center And they had, at that point, they had a center in New York. So it was easier to fly from Israel to New York than, to California. It's shorter.
Yeah.
And so, so I go and the faded day. I'm very excited. And it was a series on, I think, on how to thrive through uncertainty. It was maybe following 9/11, and I don't remember it was in like the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And so I went in, and the manager is showing me around to the room where I'm going to present, and there's, Deepak's office, and Deepak wasn't in there. And I just, I had this sense that we were to meet, that there was something that we're to do together. I had that sense even like way before I was ever invited to present there. And then, so what happens, right? It's like you have this sense and you get there and it's like not what you expected. And I get in the room and the guy says, sets me up, whatever he does, and then leaves me so I could have my space. And like, that's the moment where you're like, really? and I just let it all go. Well, there's, a really good reason why I'm here, and I'm here to be of service. I'm not here to meet Deepak Chopra. Who cares? That's the personality. I'm here for the principle. And then, I don't know, I set up what I needed to. I got prepared, and then I went out to go to the bathroom, and, I look at his office, and there's this small guy. I didn't even realize it was Deepak. He calls me in. And, oh, hi. And I don't know, it was like 2 minutes or so. And like he was going through something. He goes, I am so
right.
sorry. I am so sorry, but here, give me a call. And he writes down his telephone number and he hands it to me. And I leave there, and so you have a choice, right? It's like, oh yeah, he gave me this. I'm sure it's, I was like, oh yay, I did. And it was, like you say, it was just this real connection. It was, just very simple, and it was whatever it was. And
there were no angel choirs or Buddhist chants or nothing like that.
And he stood up, he was, he stood up and he shook my hand, and he was so small. He was so short. And it's like, it's not what you see in media coverage. It was just like, regular person, this short Indian man. And, I took that number, it was an email. Well, I'm sure this is going to go to his assistant and, this, that. And it took me, here's this thing about trust your inner guidance. It might not work like you think it does. That's cognitive mind. But if you will follow what feels right and makes no sense, that's your true voice. When I finally wrote, I don't know what I wrote. I don't remember when it was exactly. Maybe it was to follow up on a program or something that I saw. I found out it was his personal email. He wrote back. And it's like, God, how much do we cost ourselves because we don't trust in our power, because we don't trust in our good, because we don't trust. I was on the phone with a colleague this morning. Things are going really well. And she goes, it's like, it almost seemed too good to be true. And I said, why would that be too good to be true? She goes, oh, thank you. It's like she didn't even realize she was saying that. She goes, it's so amazing because with this other colleague that this thing was happening with, she said, we always challenge ourselves when we speak. We always talk about that thing, like, why should there be a limit to how good something can be? That it requires getting out of victim mentality. And those of us who are conscious, sometimes, it's like the more you let go of your ego, the stronger your ego gets.
Would that be an example of how we sabotage our authentic voice?
Yeah.
By we aren't good enough. What will they think? Why bother? It won't
Yeah,
work
why
out.
bother? The real pot. Who can relate to that? Why bother? The world's, the world's coming apart and falling apart, and why even bother?
Right. Well, if you and your ability to help us with that situation can happen, I'm sure people like me and people that like your colleague who saw you as her Deepak, the feeling is that this is exciting. This is exciting stuff to know how we can conquer that. And from looking at your website, there were teachers, there were yoga masters, people that were with you and had all learned how to let loose and how to become less afraid. And that was very intriguing to me. And I see people like that. I think, oh my goodness, they can't possibly be shy. They can't possibly be the people that are suffering from insecurities. But we do, even the most professional.
Yeah, we all do.
Right.
If we're in a human body, we're a human being, and maybe that's one of the big lessons, learning to thrive through uncertainty. And actually in this media tour is triggered by latest book, which has emerged, Triumphant, Thrive Through Uncertainty. And it's not a cognitive book that you read and you learn something. It's something that comes from the inside out. I've devoted my life and my career to the resurgence of an ancient feminine leadership and healing voice way that was practiced in my lineage. I'm a member of the Levite tribe, unbroken, on both my mother and my dad's side, which makes me a direct descendant of Moses and prophetess Miriam. And this has nothing to do with religion. Zero to do with religion.
Non-denominational.
Zero to do with dogma or any belief system.
I know for myself, I consider myself to be a Lutheran Jew. I flunked catechism in Lutheran, but I was raised by a Holocaust survivor and very old order German. And so I find myself a lot of times, my husband says, there you go again. You're going, wait. And these things do not leave us. Well, I want to say that we will be back and we're going to take a short break. And Eliana is going to tell us how we can find and connect with our authentic voice. So stay tuned.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. ascendinghearts.com.
This is Kathy Beal, host of Celestial Compass, featuring astrology you can use. Celestial Compass points you to what's going on in the sky and what you can do with it down here on Earth. We also explore fun, effective, and cosmic tools for navigating this adventure we call life. Join me the first and third Monday of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for Celestial Compass. It's enlightening, entertaining, and empowering.
You came across someone struggling with hunger. How would you recognize them? Would you notice an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for summer break
because she may not be having lunch again until September?
Or a war veteran who's having a hard time
landing a job and getting back on his feet?
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
So, Eliana, what does your program do for us? And what can you do for us to help us to be more grounded?
Oh, find your true voice.
Right. Yeah, you have so much going on with your life. I'm just
well, everything is, everything these days is about the launch of the book, but I love that you're bringing this up, because find your true voice. It's a jumpstart program that actually was birthed in the middle of lockdown, because what I was finding was not just my clients, but in my community and just what I was seeing online was, well, the kids are at home, all of a sudden the kids are at home, they're schooled at home, and if you're in a relationship, the two people in the relationship, whether you're married or not, whether you're same sex, whether you're different sexes, doesn't matter. It's like all of these human beings who are used to going about their lives all of a sudden are sequestered in one place and 24/7. How do you get along? And the proverbial caca hits the fan. And what I was really seeing in two areas in particular, one with parents who need to work, conscious, like real conscious people, but their kids are in the screen and the kids are going nuts because it's bizarre. And they don't really know any different because this is all they've known, and the rules are changing every other day and there are no teachers and suddenly the parents are the teachers. What? And all this stuff. And, how do I show up? How do I be a good parent? How do I keep my own cool? Who is this that I'm married to or I'm living with? What? How and where am I in all of this? And I'm there, and I would hear, well, I'm there for everybody else, but it's like, how do I speak my truth? I think I'm going to kill myself or somebody else, who first? or implode. That's one group. Which one do you guys identify with? That one or
implode, probably.
Or the other. Well, a lot of the healing professionals are the imploders.
Right.
I saw it in our private community.
Life coaches and everything.
Yeah. Life coaches, the therapists, the social workers, the
psychics,
the sound healers, the nurses, the ones who are there for everybody else first.
Right.
Themselves, the people pleasers.
Right.
The people pleasers who please everyone else but themselves. And it is so dangerous. It's so dangerous because when we implode and we do not express ourselves, then the stress, the congealed energy that we're holding on to doesn't get released, and we push it back down and we suppress the energy and we depress ourselves. That causes our body huge harm. It's like heart disease with women dropping dead is like an epidemic proportions now. And those who are caregiving a parent, I read a research from the National Institute of Health that the majority, this was a study in the United States. I don't know how that corresponds to the rest of the globe, but in the United States National Institute of Health did a research and found that 80 or 85% of the caregivers, the majority were middle-aged professional women who were caring for either, the parent, or they were sandwich generation, they were for their elder and the children. 66% of them died before the one they were caregiving for. Boy,
oh my God.
Yes, boy, did that give me pause.
Now, is that through COVID, or is this just
No, this was
period?
prior. This was prior to COVID. So when COVID came, it's like I was well prepared. I've lived through 3 wars, living 25 years in the Middle East, so prepared me. I also consciously left the States after the recession in the late 80s. I consciously chose to leave. I saw the writing on the wall. I said, I'm going to leave I'm going to make my changes before I have to, because in another 20, 30 years, everything's going to, fall apart, and I'll already be on the other side, and then I'll be able to be of service. And I came back to the US. I wasn't planning to come back to the US. I came to celebrate my mom's 84th birthday at, oh my goodness, what's today's date? The 9th, next week. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Don't forget Mama.
Next week it's going to be 8 or 9 years since I came. My mom's going to be 93. So it's
same as my mom's age. Mm-hmm.
It's next week. It's 9 years. I came to celebrate my mom's 84th birthday.
Wow. And time flies.
My stepfather, who was in hospice at that time, and one of the precedences of this ancient feminine leadership and healing sound way, historical precedence is in transitions in birth and death. So I wanted to be able to offer that to my stepfather as well. And he passed 4 days after I arrived on the morning of her birthday. And I found my life just turning around. When it was time to go back home, I realized, oh my God, it's 20, 30 years later. I just I felt the need to stay, and one day at a time I stayed. And it was during those first years that I read that research. But fast forward to COVID, because you asked about, this is a long-winded response. Sorry.
That's okay. I like it.
But you said, how do, what prompted, or what's,
I guess,
read that question again, because I'll tie it in. It's very much.
I think it was just, how does this help us to be more grounded? How does this,
what does the course do? You said something like that. Then I asked which course.
Do for us to help us become more grounded.
Oh, okay. To help us become more grounded. So all of that backstory that I'm telling you about, fast forward to COVID, and then hearing those things really triggered, oh my goodness, people are really suffering, and it really is a life and death matter, because it's not just the sandwich generation. Now it's everybody's locked down. So I created this, like a jump start program that can help you to ground yourself and gain your clarity, overcome the blocks that stand in your way of speaking your truth, specifically in situations where others might not understand you,
or specifically when you yourself are a person that heals or a caregiver as a profession. I think that we aren't allowed to be seen screaming our heads off at our children or at our animals. We are supposed to stay calm. And that's why we implode, because it goes from a whole different direction of how do people think about me? It becomes, how do I feel about myself? Now that I see myself as a healer and as a person that is giving direction, as a spiritual teacher or as a coach, how do I then believe in myself if I can't follow my own?
Exactly. You're hitting the nail on the head, because at this point, everybody is suffering from post-trauma. Every single human being. We've gone through, and we are continually going through a collective trauma. Back in the early 2000s, there was when we were going through doing our research in Israel, there was a medical conference, and the focus was on the caregivers. And the thing that I remember out of that was the importance of the caregivers caring for themselves, because when we don't, we are in danger of passing on secondary trauma to those who we care for. Because we have nothing, and today where, your resilience is paper thin, your well is on empty, you don't have anything to give. Bull hooey. It's like it's collusion and you're violating yourself and other people. I don't mean to be pointing a finger. I don't mean that at all. I
understand.
No, I mean it in a place of, like that research really got me out of my, it's so, because it's so much easier. Like we love being there for others. It is our role, we're so empathic too, and it is our superpower. But if you don't stop to refill your own well and to reconnect to the source of your power, it's like you're burning your edges on both ends. Your house catches on fire and everything goes down in its wake, which is what's happening right now.
And probably why they say, at least I heard this once, that of the high suicide rate among psychiatrists that implode and can't handle it.
Is it on? Really? I remember seeing that amongst, this is like 20 years ago now. We had a project with a diamond burr manufacturer, a dental manufacturer, where I composed healing music for them, because dentists, this is 20 years ago, it was dentists who had the highest suicide rate of care providers.
Really?
Yeah.
Why would that be?
Because, well, think about it. It's like when you go into a dentist chair, people are so stressed. And they're so stressed, and it's like, and they have really high rates of malpractice insurance. And so the dentists are so stressed themselves. It's like not a pretty picture.
No,
but
I didn't realize that.
I hadn't heard about the therapist, but yeah, that actually, when I think about it, it doesn't surprise me. Yeah, we end up killing ourselves, whether it's physically or mentally or energetically. And so what's the solution? Well, nothing. Stop.
It's okay to stop.
There is no solution. You are the solution. You want to kill yourself? Go ahead. You want to kill others? Go ahead. You want to point at society and say it's their fault? Go ahead. You'll get to be right. And you'll also get to stay a victim and kill yourself. Or do nothing and be who you truly are and connect to the source of your power. And dare honor that. There's nothing new under the sun. In Chadash Tachat Hashemesh, there's nothing new under the sun except for living it and practicing it so imperfectly, one little teeny beany step at a time. That's what emerged Triumphant, Thrive Through Uncertainty. That's what that's about, to help you. And do not be alone. This is like John Wayne died 1,000,000,001 years ago. It's not the leader, the Lone Ranger. I'm the healer. I will heal the world. Or why can't we all just live in peace? That's what my mind said in 2006, as one of the bombs was dropping. There's like 90 seconds of a siren when the Katyusha is about to blast. So you got 90 seconds to get in the bomb shelter or in your safe space. Then I'm in my little safe space going, how come we can't all just live in peace, live peacefully? And the true voice says, well, sweetheart, how do you expect to live in peace when you can't live in peace when all hell is breaking loose? It's like they're flip sides of the same coin. How peaceful are you willing to live amidst the war? Your choice. I'm like,
and does this kind of lead into your new book?
Well, it's it actually is part of the impetus of it, and the new book is not only, it's like a resurgence of it's a repository of my experience walking this talk. I don't mean my Eliana, look at her. No, not about that. Walking the talk, sharing Prophetess Miriam. There are stories of, I have over 30 years trained, at this point, more than 10,000 conscious change makers themselves. They are stories of these simple tools that we can use when all hell is breaking loose. You know, what is the name? Today, what we're going through today is tantamount to, you know, when the Hebrews were in the desert, you know, 40 years in the desert, like 40 years of homelessness. Imagine that. It's like, yeah, we're 2 years, big deal. You know? And, you know, and how do you remain connected when everything else goes awry around you? How do you connect to yourself when there's cynicism all around you and you don't know whether you can trust yourself? And there are exercises in there. It's not a cognitive book, it's an experiential book. And there's a free workshop that I developed that goes along with it. And, you know, I definitely, if this speaks to you, please purchase the book. But if not, go experience the workshop as well, to give yourself an experience of this work, because it's not anything you can understand. It's something that is experiential from the inside out.
What is the name of your book again?
The name of the book is Emerge Triumphant, Thrive Through Uncertainty. And you can find it at voicesofeden.com/book. voicesofeden.com/book.
Well, it sounds fascinating, and I will indeed get it. This is Anne-Marie Odell, and you are listening to The Calling of Light. Yes, today is Eliana.
Eliana means my higher power answered me, and Gilad, my last name, in Hebrew means eternal joy. So my higher power answered. Oh my God, that's eternal joy, you know?
Thank you. Thank you.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
If I could be you,
and you could be me for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
This is Anne-Marie, and I am with Eliana, and she is discussing her new book with us today. And I love the fact that many of your stories are based on the Hebrew Jewish stories. Is that correct?
And no.
Oh,
not on Jewish stories. Yes. absolutely yes of ancient Hebrew, and no, it is not connected to Judaism. I mean, there are.
Oh, I didn't mean that.
No, it makes total sense that you would say that, but there's not a lot of consciousness between the difference of those. Judaism is a religion that came, that came way, way after, but what I'm referring to are thousands of years before there was ever a Jewish religion. There was a Hebrew tradition before that. And
tell me about your book in more detail. Drove you to write this book? We've gone through the COVID, we're out of the COVID, and now where are you in your life's chapter?
Right, well, so what caused me to write it is it's actually an expanded, enhanced version of my last book, which is Miriam's Secret, Revealing the Ancient Wisdom of Feminine Leadership. And that book took 20 years to launch. And I remember I had like 3 almost launches that I retracted at the last minute. Now that I'm thinking of it, inclusive of that time when I went to the Chopra Center. That was one of the times where I held back from the launch because the inner voice said, no, it's not time yet. So would you follow through with something that you had planned through? How do you know when to trust your voice? How do you know what's your real voice and what's a conditioned voice? How do you know what's really leading in leadership to something good or your self-sabotage? That is what this approach teaches you, how to differentiate between those two and to act upon the one that's going to take you in the right direction for yourself, especially when it makes no sense. So
could you give me an example of that? I'm trying to understand that.
You won't be able to understand it.
Oh, I mean,
but I can give you an example. Let me think of an example because you won't understand it.
Okay.
I mean, not you personally, just
I get it.
It's because it's operating. Well, I mean, the story that's coming up is how I left the US. This is like 30 years ago. I was a yuppie on the spiritual path. They said, I was in communications. They said, we're not firing you. We're just not continuing your position and look for another job. We'll pay you severance. I'm like, so help me God, I cannot, excuse me, look for another job. Since I was a little child, I knew that I had a role. I knew that everyone does. I knew, nobody told me this. I just knew it, that part of the game of life is to express your voice, is to know, what you love and express that.
And what your calling is.
Yeah.
What your mission
is. From age 0 to early 30s.
So what did you tell yourself?
In the back of my mind.
What did you tell yourself when you were
one job? I went from, what I told myself when I was little, when I'm all grown up, I'm going to have friends all over the world and I'm going to go visit them. And I was like, I grew up in LA, and like the fine family, be a dog, in the women's movement, be a doctor, a lawyer, at least marry one. That's the environment, and look good, and, and money and spirit don't mix. You could have one or the other, but, and we know which direction I took. And this thing like this, I used to play as a kid. I played different nationalities. Thank God I grew up in LA because I was exposed, to a lot of diversity, to many different cultures, and I loved it. Oh my God. And so, when I was laid off and it was the recession, when they said, look, I had those months of, I had the severance pay, but every time I thought of looking for a job, I thought, I'm going to get another job. I'll probably be paid even more. It will look better because I know how to get along. I know how to get along. Drop me in the middle of caca, I'll land on all fours. And then, living that trajectory, I like, it's a science. With me,
it's in your blood.
It's my superpower. It's not I'm just using that popular phrase, but I know how to thrive.
You're a people person.
So I'm actually not such a people person.
You seem like one.
I call myself an extroverted introvert. I'm quite.
But I am. I believe I believe all healers and
are like that.
Are extrovert introverts. I think it goes along with it.
Interesting. Yeah, I never thought of that. Yeah, it could be right. Maybe how I left. You said, how did you know? Just by listening one step at a time. It's not, I decided to. I had the master plan and I followed the master plan. Balooey. And people, they thought I was nuts. They told me I was crazy. The people closest to me, they told me I was doing a geographics. I was running away. I didn't meet with them for months because it hurt so much to hear that. When I finally dared trust, I was so vulnerable. It took so much for me to speak my truth and say, my place isn't here. And that's the part. I don't remember the exact question, but here's the point of it, and it connects to the book and it connects to the Find Your True Voice too, that I think we get so scared that we don't act upon our own inner truth because we're so afraid of how others will respond, and I did speak, and it was shit, pardon my French. It was really hell. It hurt so much, but that friend, she gave me pause. I thought, am I running away? Because I had no clue what I was going to. I had no idea, but I was daring to, that was it. The answer is to the question, how do you know? It's like by acting on, how do you know which is which? You dare to act on the thing that feels right to you, especially when it doesn't make sense, and you dare to do it. That's you trusting your higher power. And it took me 2 months to call Toby. Finally, and we would meet with friends every week. I didn't go for 2 months. Finally called Toby, handshaking on the phone. Hello, Toby. It hurt so much. That really hurt. I was trusting you. I said, you haven't seen me in 2 months because I really, like what you said, it really gave me pause. I've really been meditating on this. Am I running away? Am I doing a geographics? And the answer is absolutely not. I'm going towards something. Towards what? What is that? I have no clue.
You were following your inner voice.
I'm going towards it. And I'm choosing to go towards, instead of answering and reacting to the fearful voice that'll want to keep me safe. I'm going towards something. And then leaving that's when the CBS, the broadcasting the Olympics for CBS in France came. That's what I didn't know when I left that would happen. I think we always, we like bargaining with our devil, like, oh, give me a seed so I'll know, and then I'll dare trust myself. What? And we're giving our power away to our fear.
So would you say then that to be an empowered woman is to trust your own inner voice, and regardless of what your superiors or what your colleagues feel is their inner voice about us? Oftentimes I find, for instance, I'm a writer, and I'll say, hey, listen to this. I'm going to read you a part of my passage of my book. And the last time I did that, there was dead silence. And I immediately thought, I'm never working on this book again. I hate it. It's not a good book because nobody reacted. I'd rather have them say, God, we hated that, than absolute silence. And so I, for myself, find that silence is my worst enemy. to not have a reaction, because that's what my mother used when she was angry with me. So for me,
the silent treatment.
The silent treatment is also, to many, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. So I, as a professional, find that not having people react, which happens on Facebook at times, when people are, when you boast or you give something that you're proud of, if someone's died or you've had a disaster, people will give you thousands and thousands of likes. But if you say something that you're truly proud of, I find that oftentimes the silence comes. So it's, to me, the silence.
Right. Boy, you bring up a really, really powerful point that, if you have that in your background, the silence is going to be triggering. And with that, when we react out of that and we avoid the silence, we end up recreating and rewounding ourselves with the very thing that we're wanting to get away with.
Ooh, that's a good one. I love it. Hey, I really want to get this book. Say it again one more time.
Emerge Triumphant, Thrive Through Uncertainty.
And you have a program that goes with it?
There's a program, but it's everything here is attraction, not promotion.
All right. Well, Eliana, thank you. You were great. I feel like I just had coffee with a delightful sister. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for
This is Anne Marie, and you are listening to The Calling of Light, and I'll see you next week.